Hey guys, this is Tex. Today I want to talk to you about 5 key differences between TD Ameritrade's ThinkorSwim and TC2000 charting software. Now I'll start with the first and most obvious difference is going to be the price. TD Ameritrade's ThinkorSwim platform is totally free if you're a client of theirs. I believe they do offer the ability for non-clients to try the platform, paper trading for a few months or something like that. But in the long run, if you want to have access to their platform, you do have to be a client. And essentially, you can just open up an account with TD Ameritrade and put like $50 in or something. I don't think there's a minimum. And essentially, once you open the account and fund it, you're good to go. You have access to the ThinkorSwim platform. Even if you're not actually trading with them, just by opening the account, you get free access to their platform. So that's certainly a benefit, especially if you're kind of pinched for cash and you don't want to have to, pay a monthly fee for charting software and things like that. So that's a big one. Where TC2000, you can see I have the gold package, so it's right about $30 a month. Plus, if you're day trading, you need the live data. So that's another $15 a month. So all in, you're looking at about $45 a month in order to use TC2000 as charting software and for day trading. Now, if you're an investor and you just want really good charting software, TC2000 is great for that as well. You could probably get away without having the live data because, quite frankly, you spend most of your time looking at daily charts anyway. So something to keep in mind, it's not crazy expensive. There's way more expensive options out there, but free versus $45. So maybe weigh the other points that I'm going to cover before you make your decision, and hopefully this video will help you with that. Okay, so moving on, number 2, and this is probably one of the biggest things for me, which pulls me back to TC2000 all the time. I've tried twice now, maybe 3 times, to go over to strictly using ThinkorSwim. My wife's IRA is with TD Ameritrade, so it's super convenient if I use ThinkorSwim, because I can easily take a trade in her account while I'm trading, with my account and simply using it really for charting for my purposes. However, every time I do that, I find another reason why I just don't like it over TC2000. So here's number 2, and that's, I'm not sure what you call this feature, but really it's the ability to use your cross arrows to measure differences in price, percent, and even time. So I'm going to use Netflix as an example here. So we can see yesterday that when the market opened, Netflix had this really big move up here. And if I just wanted to see what percentage did Netflix actually move without having to manually calculate it all out, I could simply grab, or I should say I can simply left click at the bottom of the move essentially where the market opened, where the move started, and then drag my cursor up to the high. All right, and then look at the box in the left top corner. It gives you a percent and dollar value on the bottom of that box. So that's an $8.35 move, or about 2.31%. So that's really super convenient. And I can actually drag it over to the right to the high right here. There's the high right there. Okay, so that same move, if I look above the dollar and percentage amount, I can see it took 1.2 hours or 14 bars for Netflix to complete that entire move. So that's, very, very handy to see that just very quickly at a glance, very useful information. It also has other things in there from any studies that you have on your chart. So like I have the 15, 50, and 200 exponential averages as well as VWAP. And it's going to give you the open, high, and low for any candle that you're actually sitting on. So if I, select this candle, that candle, you can see the open, high, low values do change. Now, what I find the most useful about that feature is for calculating risk and profit targets before taking a trade. So for example, if I was looking at Netflix as a potential short here, and I saw how it hit this high, it came down, and it looks like it tested The blue line here is actually the 15 EMA, so I bet just below it is the 20. I don't have the 20 on this chart, but I bet it would be setting right about there. So it looks like it tested the 20 EMA right here, and then it came back up. This time it came back down, and it tested the VWAP this time, which is essentially making a lower low, and then it comes back up, right? So when I see this, I'm not saying I would have taken this trade. I'm just using this as an example, but when I see this, let's say I see the price come back up here, and I want to look at this as a potential short with an entry somewhere right around this area, risking off of the high of day. Okay, so if I were to say, all right, I want to get short around this area, risking off the high of day with the potential to break down below VWAP, below the 50 EMA, and so on. So I could simply click at the area where I'm looking to get into the trade. So let's say right here. So that's actually $368.70. And then I would drag my cursor up because we're going short. So we want to calculate our risk to about the high of day. So there would be our stop, would give it a little bit of wiggle room. So we look at the info over there in the box, and we can see that that's actually $1.21 or 0.33%. Okay, so that gives us a clearly defined risk. We can click exactly where we want to get in the trade, drag to where a reasonable stop would be, and calculate, okay, that's a $1.21 move, so I know that I need to take X amount of shares because I only want to risk, X amount for my entire account. Then you can swing it down here for a profit target. Let's say we want to have our first profit target at the 50 EMA. So that's $2.55 or 0.69%. So, that gives you a real quick and easy way to calculate your risk and reward to make sure that you're at least getting a 2-to-1 ratio, because you want to ensure that you're risking 1 for the potential to make 2, right? Preferably 3 would be even better. But just the simple feature to be able to do that is incredibly useful. All right, so now let's take a look at ThinkorSwim. And here is ThinkorSwim, and this is Netflix as well. And I'm just going to scroll over. Now this is the same move that happened yesterday. Okay, so ThinkorSwim has that same capability, except the key is you have to select the Trendline drawing tool to be able to do that. So if I were to do that here, click here, and then drag up to the top of the move, we can see that it gives me that information and a percentage and a dollar amount right there. Okay, it's a minimal amount of information, but it's useful. You can use it. All right. Now, the downside to this that I've found, especially when you have sometimes I'll have 6 small charts open on my one monitor here. So everything gets very compressed, and I can show you what happens even with this full screen. So let's say that I want to look at it the other way, right? I want to see the percentage move from the bottom or from the top to the bottom. So if I click from the high of day here, right, and then drag down to the bottom, whoops. Where's my box? It's off the screen. Okay. Now I may be missing something. I haven't found a way to force that box to stay down on the screen, but you can see that if I click anywhere like here is the lowest or the highest rather, I could start that trend line where that box is legible. If I started up here, it's off the screen. I can't see it. So it's not useful at all. The other thing is to do this, essentially you left click one time, but you do not hold the mouse button down. Then you move your trend line where you want it, and it gives you the values and everything. And then normally you would left click again and you create a trend line. Now, of course, I don't want to create a trend line. I just want to measure the distance, and I can't do that. I have to actually use a trend line drawing tool, left click once, drag it where I want to get the percentage or dollar amount for the move, right? So again, from the bottom to the top, I left click once at the bottom, drag to the top, but I'm not holding the button, and I don't want to click it again or else it'll draw the trend line. I'm just using it to get that information. Once I get that information, I have to hit the escape key on the keyboard. So it's like one extra additional step versus TC2000. I left click, hold the button, drag it up, let go, done. I got my measurement. So that right there is, for me, crucial when it comes to trading. I have to have that feature to be able to calculate my risk and profit targets. Okay, so number 3 is I would say zooming and just kind of panning around on the chart. So there's, I guess this one isn't too big of a deal. With TC2000, you use your mouse wheel to zoom in, zoom out. You can hold the shift key and use the mouse wheel to scroll, okay? And, you also have the pan, the hand here where you can manually pan like that. And ThinkorSwim is essentially the same. Let's go here. So I think, let's see, so it's opposite. If I use the mouse wheel on ThinkorSwim, it scrolls. If I hold shift on ThinkorSwim, it scrolls slowly. I think if I hold control, if I hold control and use the mouse wheel on ThinkorSwim, it zooms, okay? But one thing I do like about ThinkorSwim when it comes to zooming is you can literally left click anywhere. So let's say I want to zoom in on just this area here. I can left click and hold and drag over like that until the whole area I want to zoom in on is highlighted. Let go, and I've just zoomed in on it. And then I can double click out here. Nope, okay. Well, I can come to the bottom down here and drag like this to make it zoom out or zoom in, right? So I don't know, I just, while it's not terrible on ThinkorSwim, I really still feel like the zoom and panning feature on TC2000 is much, much smoother. Okay, so not a big one, but certainly something to, point out the difference between the two. Okay, and so I guess the third, we're on the third option here, or the third difference is going to be when it comes to chart loading. So with ThinkorSwim, I have noticed on multiple occasions that when I punch in a ticker to load the chart, there's a noticeable latency, sometimes like 5+ seconds for it to load the chart. I've seen it take up to 10 seconds one time for ThinkorSwim to literally load a chart when I've punched in the ticker. So I'm sitting there for 5 seconds, waiting and waiting and waiting for the chart to load. Just says chart loading. Where TC2000, well, it's had a few slow days here and there. Every software is going to have issues from time to time. On average, TC2000 is always, lightning fast. It always loads immediately. And I've really not had any big problems with latency in the candles, when they're playing out in real time, when you have the real-time data subscription. So just overall, I would say that, ThinkorSwim definitely has more noticeable latency to it versus TC2000. Of course, your computer hardware and everything is going to impact how well either one of these programs function, but it's just something to keep in mind. I don't know if it's because there's literally so many users on ThinkorSwim versus TC2000. I can't say for sure, but I can just tell you my experience with it. And I've seen other people's YouTube videos when they punch in a ticker on ThinkorSwim. Sometimes it takes a while to load the chart. So I would keep that in mind as well. All right, and let's see. So I guess that was number 4. Sorry, number 5, and the final thing is going to be when it comes to drawing on the chart. Now, if you're a person who really likes to mark your chart up with trend lines and just all kinds of annotations and things like that, man, I can tell you right now, TC2000 is going to be what you want to use. And I'll show you why. So we'll start with this. We have TC2000 up right here. So let's say, for example, I want to draw a trend line. Now, of course, I could come here and select trend line, but one thing that you can do is you could literally just start where you want to draw it, before you left click, hold down Control, then left click, draw your trend line, just like that. But again, you can come here and select trend line, and it'll draw a trend line for you. You can use the eraser to just erase those, boom, just like that. Another thing that you can do that's really, really cool, and you can do these same drawings for the most part on ThinkorSwim. So, it's not that ThinkorSwim can't do this. I just think that it works much better on TC2000. It's more intuitive. It's just, I don't know, it just looks better, it feels better, and I like it better. So It's one of the bbigger differences that I really like. But also having your toolbar here on the side, it's nice, easy, accessible. It's fantastic for things like that. But you can draw like an arrow here where the price came down and hit this whole dollar amount at 364 and then bounced up. So you can use those arrows to highlight things. You can come in here and grab a support line, support resistance line, and drop that down right here at that whole dollar amount. We can zoom out, scroll over. We can see where, right here it didn't quite hold support, but it did ultimately find support on that 200 EMA. And we can highlight these things. We can come in here and see, right here where it bounced off a VWAP, or you can use an ellipse to highlight something up here. You can do all these drawings and they look good, and they are really good for referencing certain things if it helps you to see things. A lot of times when you're learning and you're trying to, there's so much to look at, support levels, resistance levels, sometimes by drawing it out, it literally helps you see these things because it directs your eyes to that, and you realize, oh, okay, wait a minute, that makes sense why it bounced there, because that was a major support level or something like that. And Fibonacci retracement as well is incredibly useful. If we draw that from the low to the high from yesterday, we can see how it came down and hit the 23.6 level. Then it came down, hit VWAP here, cracked through 38.2. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, I think the drawings are incredibly a lot better on TC2000, but just for demonstration purposes, I will do the same here on ThinkorSwim. So no toolbar here. You can put a toolbar up on the top that kind of pops down when you mouse over it, but it doesn't always work great, and sometimes it won't come down when you want it to come down, and it's incredibly frustrating. So I usually just come down here and grab the tools that I need. So I can do like an arrow. So there's my arrow. But if I want to move that arrow, I have to select the cursor. Then I can select it and I can move it where I want it. So just kind of, it's not as fluid, I guess. I can put a price level in just like that. I can double click to put a price level in. Trend lines, I showed you that. Click once, drag it where you want it, click again. There's your trend line. You can also draw boxes here, so you can draw, sorry about that, let me zoom out. You can see what I'm saying, like I have the box selected, and so I click once, draw my box, click again, there we go, we highlighted a box. And finally I'll do a Fibonacci retracement from the low here to the high. There we go, and it just doesn't look as pretty. It just, I don't know, I mean, it's just ugly as heck, and just not fluid, not intuitive. The toolbar is not on the side, easily accessible. So I mean, you can see what I mean. It's free, right? So I certainly can't complain if you're pinched for money and you don't want to pay for charting software. But all in all, my vote goes to TC2000, and I was going to switch to TD Ameritrade ThinkorSwim, but at this point I really think that I'm going to be sticking with TC2000, at least for the foreseeable future. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys if you're kind of on the fence between the two platforms, or you're not familiar with one or the other. Certainly, weigh your options, price being the most important, and functionality. What are you actually intending to use it for? Do you need all these drawings and things like that, or can you live without them? Or at least you can do the drawings on ThinkorSwim, but I think they're better on TC2000. So if you're okay with the way they work on ThinkorSwim, then that's great. And then most importantly, the cross arrow measurement feature here. Can you live without that? Can you live with just using the Trendline tool on ThinkorSwim to measure that, even though it pops out of the window sometimes? Maybe there's a way that you can get it so it forces it to stay in the window, but I haven't found that option yet. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap up the video. Again, hope it was really helpful. Wish you all the best if you're trading. Trade safe and take care. We'll see you soon.